Here we are in episode 25 of the Simple Success Podcast. This is financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Episode 25 already. Awesome. Coaching happiness. When you change you change everything. Last week we talked about the richest man in Babylon, and this week the pod is about this one's going to the moon. When NASA stopped flying the shuttle, it seemed that was going to be the end of the reusable spaceplane concept, until everything started going to the moon. Again. When the Wright brothers first flew in 1903, the idea of astronauts flying a rocket into outer space, while a little ahead of its time, became a real possibility. It was only 65 years later when the maneuvers of a large spaceplane, known in real life as the Space Shuttle and presumably directed by Mission Control, became a big part of Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey. Then, a mere 12 years following, a musical act with a bold and auspicious name, the B-52s, discovered and told us that there was a moon in the sky. Moreover, as they so cleverly revealed, it was called, wait for it, the moon. And that's where this one was going, on a moon mission. Why? Because of unreasonable expectations, that's why. Okay, I'm not talking about NASA and real lunar orbit spaceflight. I'm not talking about putting humans into space. I'm talking about investors and investing as usual, except, of course, from a happiness perspective. According to history, a lot of people seem to think that there's luck involved with investing. Now, of course, there is a little bit of luck, and it can be a bit of a race. And when I say that, I should be specific and say good luck, which reminds me of the old blues line, if it weren't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. But getting past that, it's mostly experience and understanding. Let me give you an example, a giant leap as it were. I've added an image to this, which is key to understanding what I'm talking about. It's called the Wall Street Cheat Sheet. I've put a link to a copy in my show notes. Look at the capsule created by this picture and tell me what you see. If that's an ambitious mission that's not going on for you, I'll tell you that it is what we call in audio a sine wave. An up and down curve that starts at a midpoint, curves down, back up through the midpoint to the top, back down to the midpoint, and over and over and over again. Starting at the midpoint, our sample investor gets in. To what investment, we're not concerned right here, right now. He gets in somewhere with something. He just gets in. It goes down. Our sample guy knows that this is just one of the fascinating features used to separate the wheat from the chaff, and he stays in. It goes through the bottom, and it starts to climb. Sample guy says, yep. It climbs through the middle. Sample guy says, yep. It climbs upward some more. Sample guy says, I knew it. Boy, am I smart. It climbs toward the top. Sample guy says those fateful words. This one's going to the moon. Instead of getting off the roller coaster at the top, most people give over to the fantasy that it will just keep going. NASA didn't fall prey to that kind of thinking. It turns over and starts to drop. Sample guy pretends not to be worried. It drops back to the middle. Sample guy sees inwardly while smiling too big. It drops more. Sample guy says, I knew it. Boy, is this rigged. Sound familiar? It should. It's called human history. Apollo 20 didn't happen. The program stopped after Apollo 17. But NASA had built hardware and had plans for missions up to and including it. But not long after Apollo 11, it seemed we reached our goal. And we had reached one goal. We had won the moon race. The moral? Have more than one goal. Address many different fields. Sound familiar? Hello, everyone. This is John with the Simple Success Podcast. Financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Because we know you want to show us some serious love in return for the tremendous benefits you get from us, please head over to https://anchor.fm/ Simple Success. That's one word, Simple Success / support. There, you can choose from a $9.99 per month doer level of support, a $4.99 listener level, or a basic intro level of just 99 cents per month. That's not much when you compare it to a stockbroker, right? And this is so much more sensible. To leave us a voice message, which just might see the light of day in a future podcast, go to https://anchor.fm/ Simple Success, again, one word, Simple Success / message. I won't repeat those links because weird, and anyway, show notes. This one's going to the moon. Once upon a time, our hero Daniel Rose found himself exploring the moon where this one was going. It was not exactly smooth sailing as the metaphor goes. Even though Daniel sailed across the Sea of Tranquility, he found mostly excitement and misinformation. And he wasn't even in a crew capsule on the dark side of the moon. It was worse there, he'd heard, but back to going to the moon, specifically this one, as in this one's going to the moon. Daniel thought that was kind of silly, but he also thought that sometimes silly thoughts turn out to be right. Where did that thought come from? turns out that, like most things, it comes from human nature. The entire mission revolves around it. Many people, myself included in the past, have put ourselves in a time capsule and have made the mistake of thinking ourselves too smart for the system. When we buy something, investments included, we rightly or wrongly, mostly wrongly, inject our own smarts into any good results that come forth. I sure bought that one at the right time, we say. Sure, that's vague, but it's purposely vague. Nobody wants their rationales undermined too easily, right? Daniel wasn't slow. He could see this rationale playing out, and following the magnetic field, he jumped right in. This one was going to the moon, or at least to the International Space Station. Okay, maybe some other celestial body. It had to be. Without goals with which to form expectations and set guidelines, there would be a highly controversial future. The only good thing left for any investment was a moon landing or beyond. Daniel committed himself to learning how to avoid this mistake in the future, one step at a time. Just not do it this time. He chose to be the chief historian for his own self and to apply what he'd learned. You, on the other hand, can learn right now, so you're ready when you need to be. Instead of saying, this one's going to the moon, you can use real space science. I mean investing science. But I mean psychology. And we'll be back with our call to action, our CTA, right after the break. In this Simple Success podcast, as well as in our webinars and masterclasses, we are very, very much going to want to hear your story. Well, to be real, I mean in future episodes of the podcast's webinars and masterclasses. This means you. Your participation is critical to our mutual simple success. It's important to know how you think, what you've thought, what you've tried, and what you've been unsure of trying. As we told you at the beginning, and as you also find in the show notes, we have ways you can contact us. It involves a special link where you can leave us a voice message, which just might see the light of day in a future podcast. We may have an email address for you as well in the future, and we'll let you know when that happens. Together, we're going to make it great. We're going to do what even we didn't think possible. We know a lot about you already because we know ourselves. For example, we know that you know how to listen to our podcast. We also know that you probably know how to subscribe. The reason every podcast asks you this is because when you subscribe, you automatically download all future episodes of that podcast. This means better rankings, more attention from advertisers, and more money, and that means more and better stuff for you. So your motivation is simple and easy. Subscribe today, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Oh, and don't just try to subscribe. There is no try, there is only do. Remember, this is financial life coaching from a happiness perspective. Right after this, we'll explore some more important details you should know. But for now, use your imagination to help create your story. Next week, we're going to look at another concept, and that is the knowing-doing gap. That got picked for me by my topics randomizer. I am not prepackaging this stuff, but instead making it relevant so we can all, me included, learn how to do this stuff right. We're going to bring that into the world of investing, and it's going to be a great episode. But for now, remember, happy Hamburger Day. I mean, all you need to do is practice, after which you'll get good. Gracias por escuchar. A la prochaine. Credits for today's episode. Techno King, John C. Brandy, Seagull Example, Shola, Salako, Fact Checker, Abraham Lincoln, French Consultant, Virginia Mitchell, Media Expert, Favour, Obasi-Ike, Psychologist, Sigmund Freud, Rabbit Hole Advisor, Dr. Marg, Perrott, Sound Designer, Gugliemo, Marconi, Spanish Consultant, Cameron J.K. Brandy, Videographer, Alfred Hitchcock, Audio Props, Les Paul, and Inspiration, Napoleon Hill, Earl Nightingale, and Bob Proctor. Look at the written show notes to subscribe, to support, or to send us a voice message.